Right, let's talk to our guest today too. Hollywood Legends is probably an understatement between films like Dazed and Confused and Boyhood and Dead Poet Society and Training Day. I'll say no more. They have a new movie to discuss. Let's get down to business. Welcome, Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke. Lovely to see you both. Thanks for being here.
All right.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Great to be here.
Congratulations on Blue Moon. I had the pleasure of seeing it on Monday afternoon, and I couldn't think of a better vibe of a movie to go and see in an afternoon in the cinema with the phone off and that beautiful opening scene where you just go, I was just one whiskey short of paradise. Congratulations.
Really? Whiskey is the key.
Tell me about Blue Moon for starters and your feelings towards it and why it's such an important project for you both.
Wow.
Ooh, that's the big question, isn't it? Why is it? Why did we work over a decade trying to get this made?
There was something about when I first heard the idea of following Loren's heart to the opening night party of Oklahoma.
So perverse.
Yeah, for those of us that know about, the legend of Rodgers and Hart and Rodgers and Hammerstein, I mean, it's a moment you just want to explore. For me, I just was like, I want to see that movie. I want to be in that movie. I want to know that movie.
And you're looking at a man who's. Do you want to give it a bit of context for us, for people who don't know the background to that, because it's a critical point, and as you say, it's a perverse point at which to join this man's career. So
yeah, it's an artistic. There are a lot of movies and stories that are romantic breakups, but this is an artistic breakup, which is so complex, so interesting. You don't. These guys have worked exclusively with each other for a quarter century. They've written
over 1,000 songs together.
Amazing.
And now
it's coming to an end.
It's coming to an end, and musical theater is changing. America's changing, and one of these partners is going to be left behind, and the other is going to go on to even greater heights.
The greatest heights.
Yeah. Wow. It's a scintillating relationship to focus in on. And as you're talking, you're thinking of the great artistic dynamics, whether it's Hall & Oates or whether it's Simon and Garfunkel. Right.
So many, and they end for kind of arbitrary reasons sometimes. It's weird, the breakups of them, and they're kind of inexplicable to everybody else except the people who are doing it.
I always think about the movie's kind of like if you were going to visit Lennon and McCartney the night they broke up, and one of them was going to start a band bigger than the Beatles, and the other was going to be dead.
Within 7 months. Yeah, that's like, wow.
Well, Paul McCartney would say, well, Wings were pretty damn good, I have to tell you. But
yeah, but they aren't the Beatles.
I'm a Wings guy, though. I love Wings. But yeah, the Beatles are the
You make a valid point. And Ethan, I have to say your transformation is remarkable, because you go all in. And suddenly, not only are you physically transformed, but the way the film becomes, to me, a play. I'd just seen The Weir with Brendan Gleeson on the West End a few weeks before, and I was reminded of that sense of, it had a very Irish feel to it, actually, where this guy is thinking about his life. He's drinking a little too much. He's not bitter, but he's not sure.
He's close to bitter.
Yeah.
He's damn close. Yeah. If he's not there, he's staring right at it.
Just a little bit. So talk to me about both of those things, Ethan, both the transformation and that sort of, I know it's not a monologue, but it just feels you're such a huge part of the story and the storytelling. I love that.
It's visiting somebody like the moments before they walk in front of a firing squad, and this particular man just can't stop talking as he's staring at his mortality. So I love the character. He's always two things at once. He's the smallest person in the room, and he's the biggest personality. He's gay, and he's in love with a woman. He's jealous and bitter and loving and compassionate. He's so many things at every given moment that the character was infinitely fascinating. And this friend of Richard's wrote the movie, this guy, Robert Kaplow, who's a beautiful teacher and a professor and a lover of history. And it was the script was just electric. It was like touching a live wire. I couldn't put it down when I first read it. And we'd worked on it for over a decade, and every time we'd do a reading of it or start working on it all, it just would explode in my brain.
Mm-hmm. And what happened? You talk about a decade. If you love something so much, you think the obvious thing would be, okay, I'm going to make this. Richard would say, Ethan, come on, we're going to make this. It's such an important project to our hearts. So why the delay, or was there a sense that it wasn't ready yet, or you weren't ready yet, or was it time?
We were ready. There was one element that wasn't ready. Ethan was still too young. He was too...
I was about a decade young when I first got it, and instead of Rick casting somebody else, he just decided to wait. But also, with a piece like this, the target is very small. It happens in real time. We're 90 minutes at the opening night party of Oklahoma. And so the writing, it had to be perfect. And we just worked on it and thought about it. And then finally Rick decided we really were ready.
Yeah.
And tell me about the Irish factor. I spotted a lot of heads I knew there behind the scenes and in smaller roles, whether it was Simon Delaney and of course Katrina Ennis, but then you had the big guns like Andrew Scott and Margaret Qualley, not unless she's an O Qualley from somewhere, not that I'm aware of, but
we all are,
There's an O somewhere in all our lives, But so why there? Why did you go to Ireland?
Well, on one hand, we had to build Sardi's somewhere. They're not going to let us take over the real Sardi's for 5 weeks or whatever. So it worked out in Ireland. We had some great partners, a lot of support. Film, you go where you're wanted and what makes sense. And it was just such a blessing. Such a great talent pool, such a great crew. Ardmore Studios was wonderful outside of Dublin. I don't know. Everything about it was idyllic.
And if you're going to set a movie in a bar, your first thought goes to Ireland.
Let's everyone there will totally relate. It's like it makes total sense.
Yeah, it does. And so you found your home anyway, your natural home. Did you film it in was it all on a set, or did you go to the Gaiety Theatre or the Olympia Theatre, or where did you go?
We did. Briefly, we were in downtown Dublin at the theater and in the alley kind of built. But we built the set of Sardi's, at Ardmore.
Yeah, it was magnificent. And did you get a chance to sample the Irish life in Ireland, or was it all very much work?
No, I loved working there.
A little bit.
The crews really were great. No joke. When I left there, I was sad. We had a great... We've had some amazing summers in our career. Like our first movie together was Before Sunrise in Vienna. Yeah. We did another movie in Paris one summer, another movie in Greece one summer, and then now we got to spend a summer in Ireland, in Dublin. It was wonderful.
Yeah. You could be in worse places, and on a set like that, I presume there are no stars. The makeup lady could be a star that one on Monday, and it could be the runner on Tuesday. It's a fair society. And what about your own double act? I mean, it is extraordinary, and it's sustained down through the years. To what do you attribute that?
Our collaboration together?
Yeah.
I attribute it to the force of my personality and my ability to forgive Richard all his inadequacies.
To just carry me
I've
for 30 years.
short roped him up the mountain of cinema.
And I appreciate it. I'm lost without you, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. Richard, as a passenger in this relationship, tell me how it feels.
Yeah, totally.
No, but you obviously have great simpatico in it, and you clearly work. Even the chemistry looking at you today together, it's a lovely thing. I mean, it's often with great artists, the time they spend apart is as important as the time they spend together, because otherwise it's too much. Is there a bit of that for you guys?
Well, we didn't even realize it, but as we headed into the actual production of this, we were like, wait, we haven't actually rolled camera. We have not worked together in 10 years. And since I do Boyhood ended, and that's been a while. And we were like, wow, we didn't even notice that, really. We'd been developing this and a couple other things. We're always in touch, but it was fun to be back at it.
And to your point about, we're lucky because unlike Rodgers and Hart, unlike Lennon McCartney, all these other comparisons we could make, the film is such a collaborative medium. Even on Blue Moon, we have other collaborators. Andrew Scott, Margaret Qualley, they're big parts of the making of this movie. Whereas these songwriting teams, they only wrote together. Rodgers and Hart, for 25 years, their relationship to their art was their relationship to each other. So our dynamic is much gentler than what those guys experienced.
Yeah, our art form's so expansive. It requires so much, so many people, so many, in our 30 years, you've done, 80 films, a ton of plays. I've done 20, whatever. Everybody keeps busy and, cross-pollinates.
Rich, are you back working with Paul Mescal at the moment as well? Or is that...
Yeah, I will be in about another year. We're doing a long-term project together, and I'd love to work with him on other things. He's wonderful. He's what a talent, huh?
Yeah, he's doing great. And Ethan, the reason I mentioned Elvis before we came on air is because when I was posting a thing about going to see your beautiful film, Elvis Presley's version of Blue Moon is probably one of the most underheard, beautiful things I've ever heard.
It's incredible. Yeah, I listened to it a lot while we were filming.
I bet. Listen, it's been lovely to talk to you. Congratulations on the movie. It's really a thing of great beauty, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I'm glad Ireland was kind to you, and I hope that you'll return.
More than kind. Thank you, Ryan.
Dear, what a pleasure to see you both. Good luck with everything.
Radio.